Happy Mental Push Monday, baby. We here. If this is your first time joining, my name is Andrea Fitzgerald. I'm an author, a speaker, and also a person really obsessed with personal growth and development. So each week we get in the gym and we do our mental push-ups because the most challenging and rewarding work that we will ever do is on ourselves. So today, friends, we are going to talk about um, are you overcoming the addiction? Are you in recovery? And maybe I'm speaking from my own truth here, but I just want to share this with you all. As I've told you several months ago, in therapy, that I have been unpacking this idea of external validation, really getting more attuned to myself. Because what I've learned is that I can be very other focused. Someone else said it, oh, that's the truth, versus like trusting what I know to be true on the inside of me and then making a choice from there. Or taking the outside ideas as my own versus like having a true sense and my true north within myself. So as I've been unpacking this, something that I is becoming more evident to me is this concept of almost this addiction to external validation. And the thing about running a business is the things that it takes to be successful, there is no external validation coming from that. You send 300 emails, there ain't nobody saying, "Oh my gosh, great job, you sent your emails today," or something like that. Like it's no initial like dopamine hit of someone telling you great job. So it's really allowed me to see just how important it is for you to validate yourself, because you could do a social media post, you get some validation, you get a like, you get something like that, but the day-to-day of success, like ain't nobody giving you a pat on the back for that. And so really I was telling my therapist last week, I was saying that something that I'm noticing. I said it is so uncomfortable now, like now that I'm aware of it and I can like literally see myself doing it, is that it is so uncomfortable to like trust in myself. Like when I'm making a decision, I naturally sometimes want to ask someone else. I want to do this and do that. And not that we're all one thing, because there's definitely a part of me that's like, listen, I don't care. I'm making a decision out of you know we're more than one thing. But I was just telling her, I said I feel like this feels very uncomfortable for me. And the question she asked was like, "Well, are you willing to stick with the discomfort? Because it doesn't mean that anything's wrong here. This is just new, and you're more aware. And sometimes when you become aware of something and you leaning in and you growing, like it doesn't feel great. So I just want to share with you a few insights as I have been going through this day to day and just like really asking myself when I'm making a decision, like trusting what's within versus seeking external validation, seeking another resource, or seeking someone to tell me good job and then I know it's good, and trusting myself. So I just want to share some of those things with you. And maybe you're in that space too where you're learning, are you leaning in here to really trusting yourself. And I think the other thing about this is I'm continuing to learn. It's like this journey doesn't end. We'll be doing this for the rest of our life. It'll be, right now it's this, but it'll be something else a couple years from now because we're constantly evolving. So I don't think this is the end all be all, but this is so far as I've been going through this journey. I just want to share that with you all. So the first thing that I have began to understand is that with external validation, it's never gonna be enough. Like it never will be. Like people from the outside can never give you more than what you can give yourself, right? Like you have to tell yourself that, you have to validate yourself. Like sometimes I'd be like, okay, girl, let's go. Good job. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to give yourself that. Because if you're waiting on someone else to tell you how amazing you are and you're not telling yourself that, like it may not ever come, you know? So it's never gonna be enough from the outside. Only something that I think either I read or something like that, like you are your best advocate. And if you know you need a cheerleader, like you have to give that to yourself instead of waiting on the outside world to give that to you, because it may not have to, because sometimes I hear people say, be like, well, I wish they would have, appreciated me and I wish they would have told me this and that, but it starts and ends, I think, with us. Um, and I think that leads to the second point is that anything else that someone brings to me is just a bonus, because if I'm validating myself, then, any extra, it's just like, oh, thank you for that, but I'm feeling that within myself. But now I also think, like, it's not either or here. Like, I think you do need a healthy level of external validation. Like, I don't think that I will ever be successful without my parents like validating me and telling me like, oh my gosh, you're doing a great job, some of those things. So I do think you need those things. I think that what I'm learning is that cannot be the the indicator of my success, or that cannot be the indicator of how I feel about me. And so that's what I'm talking about, and that's what I'm growing through, guys. Like, I'm being really vulnerable here, so I want to share with you. But I think the other thing I think we talk about, last week I talked about that book, finding, was it Calling in the One by Catherine Woodward Thomas. And, you know, the book is not about seeking external things like some like, oh, this person is gonna come save me. Like, it starts and ends with us. We're the one that we've been looking for. So I think that when we talk about validation and like learning to trust ourselves, like, it starts and ends with us. Like, really being self attuned. And I think that's why I really loved that course with Dr. P, because that was one of the biggest takeaways from that, is that we get very outside focused about, I need this person to do this and do that, but at the end of the day, it starts and ends with us. you know um like, even with boundaries, like, sometimes we can say, oh, I want this person to be different, I want this, I want that, but at the end of the day, like, it's I get to decide how I'm gonna respond to that. And I think that's just becoming the biggest takeaway for me. I think also, I know for me sometimes that I sometimes like look for permission sometimes for someone to tell me like, this is a good idea, or this is a, should I do this, what do you think? I think having someone to like talk through things, but we are the permission slip. We don't need permission. Like, if it's something that you have been saying to yourself, like, oh, I want to do this thing, I want to do, like, go for it. I don't think anyone else can do that for us. Like, we don't need someone to affirm that idea. I think um we are the permission slip. We get to decide for ourselves. Um, because I think the huge layer here is like this idea of like personal responsibility. But that was the one of the considerations I thought about. And I think as I'm growing through this process, I think the things that are helping me overcome this, I think the first one is knowing that, like, it's gonna be uncomfortable, because majority of my life, like, I've been, especially like coming from sports, like, you are constantly getting feedback on how you can get better, how you can do this, how you can do that, and learning to trust yourself. It's owning that it's like it's uncomfortable to lean into that space of of learning to trust myself and validate myself, and telling myself that, like, the choice I'm making is what feels good for me. You know what I mean? Um, I think the other thing is slowing down and taking space. So I think sometimes for me, I think that I need to react immediately, but I've come to learn that I'm more of a processor. The best decisions come when I have time to digest it. I was just telling um Christina that earlier. I was saying that sometimes when I get feedback from her, like, I'm very defensive. I'm not trying to hear it. But every bit of feedback that I get, um, I take space and I process that. And what I'm learning to do is like separate, okay, this is what's true for me and this is what's not. At one point, it was like I got the feedback, I took space to process, and I just took it all as this is it, versus like really asking myself, okay, where can I see I need to grow here? Or where can I see I'm doing well here? But I'm just noticing that just taking that slowing down and space to process is really helpful me, because I find myself being in more alignment with my true north. Um and I think the other thing is um the taking space, but also as you lean into like validating yourself, is being okay with the resistance of others. I think that sometimes that is sometimes the indicator for me, like in the past, as I'm like growing through this, is that I need to change whatever decision I've made. When it's just, it's okay. Like, we're human beings. You're different. I'm different. We see things in a different way. That, I think that's okay. Um, so like being okay with the resistance from others, and even sometimes from yourself. Like, sometimes I can talk myself out of what's really true for me. So I think that's another way to to learn to trust yourself and start validating your own truth. I think something else that is helping with that is also like self-care. And particularly the one for me that's been very helpful is meditation and journaling. Those two have been instrumental, I think, in this process of beginning to um validate and trust myself. Just that time, like, I'm even noticing in conversations where I'm beginning to be able to, like, most times I have to take space and then think about it, but I'm even being able to, like, just take whatever is happening in the moment and, like, slow down and just not be so reactive. I'm like, okay, this is happening, I'm just like in it, just present to whatever I'm experiencing in my body, whatever I'm experiencing. Like, what am I hearing from this other person? What am I hearing from myself? How am I really feeling about this? That's okay. uh what is this person saying? How do I feel about that? How do they feel about that? So that, I think that in particular, the meditation and the journaling piece in terms of my own self-care is really helping me to be um to validate myself more. And I think the last thing that I think is also helping me trust myself, and also I think leads to the most validation, is honoring the commitments you make to yourself. um every time that I lean in and I do something that I said I was going to do, and I honor myself and I treat myself with care, that I'm beginning to that validates me. It builds my confidence to know that, like, okay, girl, we can do this. We can do this. I trust myself because I did what I said I was going to do. I think I read or I saw in a speaker one time, he said, he said, if you want to build confidence, he said, do what you say you're going to do. And I think the biggest piece of this for me is that I think I have always looked at it as other people, like, I want to honor my commitments to others. I want to do what I say I'm gonna do. I want to be reliable. And I just think the headline for this month for me is just like, it literally comes back to, what's the relationship you having with yourself? Do you do what you're gonna say you're gonna do for you? If you said you get up at 5 o'clock, did you do it? And it's like those small things. Because, and I'll close out with this. Something I heard on a podcast recently. They said it was a therapist, Dr. Spears, and she was talking about just relationships in general. And she was saying, well, that was someone asked, like, what is it that normally makes people break up? And she said, oftentimes people think it's like this big thing that happened. Like, this big thing that happened. Like, okay, they cheat on me, which that's definitely possible and stuff like that. But she said it's the wound of 1,000 cuts. That's what destroys a relationship. It's the small day-to-day interactions, the small, like, I didn't see you today. I didn't talk to you today. I didn't honor you today. I didn't meet your needs today. And it's like over and over and over every time that you're not following through, or you're not, you're having a same conversation about a certain thing, like, it erodes the trust of the relationship. And that's what kills a relationship. And essentially, when we talk about that, it's the 1,000 cuts that can also erode the relationship of trust with ourselves. Um, because of course we're gonna need validation from other people if we don't trust and honor ourselves. It's us doing those same things with ourselves, like every time that we're not honoring our commitments to ourselves or doing the thing that we know that we're capable of doing. Um, I can definitely even like see that with myself. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening to my random thoughts as I am unpacking all these things. So I really appreciate you for for tapping in with me. And as you go out this week, I want you to keep that rookie state of mind. Well, what's that, Fitz? Remember to level up is in the losses. Problems are a privilege. And yes, you might be new to this, but I know you're true to this because you're in this moment right now. And I believe in each one of you. So get out there this week and do those mental push-ups. And we